From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hi, everybody. Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and Chief Digital Strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's show, I have Matt Putra with me, and we're going to talk about all things financial. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the great conversation. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today. Hey, everybody. Rob Cairns here. And today I'm here with my guest, Mr. Matt Putra. How are you, Matt?
I'm awesome.
Yeah, you're always doing good. Another fellow Canadian from the Vancouver area. So that's even more awesome. So, I always like getting on with fellow Canadians. So all good here. Today we're going to talk about setting up your guidance system for Black Friday. And people are going to say to me, this will come out in August. And they'll say, isn't it early? And my response would be, no, you better be thinking about Christmas and Black Friday now. Because if
100%.
you're thinking in October, it's probably too late.
Oh, yeah.
And I think your Black Friday ideas should already be planned out by the end of September, at least, if not
Mhm.
earlier.
Mhm.
So how did you get into this space, and kind of tell us a little bit about your background, if you could?
Sure. I mean, I had a variety of things I did before I finally found finance. I'll spare
Yep.
you all that. But when I was 28, I was in a job, and my wife was pregnant with my first son. I realized I was going nowhere fast, and so then I was like, let's go finish my degree. Finished it in finance and accounting, and fast forward a few years later, I was a CFO of a private equity group,
Yep.
and as a CFO there, it was awesome, my favorite job ever. But I was working like a crazy person. I was commuting to my downtown. I was driving 3 hours a day. I was working 12 hours a day on top of that. And it sounds like you've been in corporate too. So it's
I
been
have.
it was brutal. And then a friend of mine asked for some help with his business, and I said, "Oh, I can help you out." And they had an e-commerce business doing about 5 million a year, and they made, a whole bunch more money when I started helping them with some things. And then I helped one of their friends and one of their friends, and then I was like, well, this could be interesting. And then when COVID all kind of happened, started working from home, and I was like, oh, this is what it's like to spend time with my family again. And I decided never to go back to the other way things were before that. So I launched, and I've been working with e-commerce brands now for 5 years, all across the UK and Europe and Canada, Australia and US, and yeah, having an awesome time.
Yeah, e-commerce, mostly Shopify, I would assume, probably with some
Mostly
WooCommerce throughout
Shopify,
the.
some on WooCommerce, one on Magento, I think, but predominantly Shopify. But we also work with CPG. So if you're selling into grocery or
Yep.
big box, we work with a bunch of those kind of guys too.
Yeah, they're a little different beast on its own. And I would
Yes.
say, and those who don't know, Shopify is Canadian. They are
Hmm.
based out of Ottawa, actually. They have a
Hmm.
large office here in Toronto, in the Toronto area. They're big here. I would say Shopify by far is the number one e-commerce solution out there that's independent site. So we're not talking the Amazon or the custom solutions of the world. And I would say, frankly, Wook is probably number two. I think Magento's probably a
Hmm.
distinct three or four. Is that a pretty
Hmm.
good assessment of that space?
Yeah, you mean I don't know if I have the data to tell you the actual truth, but
I
that's what it
don't. I
feels like
don't
it is
either.
to me. That's what it feels
I don't
like.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've built enough big Woo sites, and it has its
Oh,
challenge. They both have their challenges, so
yeah.
that's gonna.
Most of the time, if I look at Woo, I say people should be replatforming. Typically,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I do too, actually. And I'm
Mhm.
a WordPress guy, and I still recommend Shopify. So there you go. Um, so we're gonna talk about setting up systems and stuff, guidance systems for Black Friday. But
Yeah.
before we jump in, one of the things you and I were talking about is you need to be in that mode now. We are in August. If you're thinking about Black Friday come November, December, November, it's too late. Black
Hmm.
Friday is now turned into be a whole month, not a whole
Hmm.
day or 2 days. I also think, and I tell my clients, you better be in the Christmas mode now, and you better know what you're
Hmm.
doing by early September, or it's too late. Where do you sit on that?
I have been encouraging people to start thinking about it in July and August now.
Yep, yep,
And the reason is because by the time September comes around, your inventory is typically on a boat on the way here. And
yep,
so you ordered it, you've bet on what you think is going to happen, and those choices are now kind of baked. Whereas in July, I mean, you still might have ordered inventory already, but at least you have time to think about your inventory. You have a lot of time to think about your campaigns. And what's even more important than that is I find like, by the time Black Friday, December rolls around, you will be have already ordered your stock for the new year by then. But
yep,
most of us who've been in this environment know that, in the middle of October, November, you're stressed to the max. And so I think people should be planning for the next 2 or 3 inventory buys in July, which would cover you all the way to spring-ish in the new year, or at least have a plan in place.
mhm,
Because doing spring planning in November and December sucks because you're
yep.
fighting the good fight in November and you need a break in December. So why not have it all done now?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, my partner Tiz and I were up in a small Ontario town called Paris, Ontario. It's like a boutique town west of Toronto. And
Hmm.
one of the things that in Paris, we walked into a shoe store and she said, all her summer shoes are 40% off. And Tiz said to her, why? I knew the answer to the question, but I wanted to hear from the store owner. And it's because on the shelf, we already have our fall stuff.
Hmm.
Stores typically run a season to a season and a half ahead. Costco's a classic example. Have you ever gone into Costco and saw that your bathing suits are all out in March? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yep. Yep.
and I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that's the way it is in retail. The other thing, and I would say and somebody will try and debunk what you and I are saying and say, but I'm in the book publishing business and I'm in the self-publishing business. So I don't have the boat issue. And my response would be, but there's a reason why book publishers start pushing for Christmas in August and September, isn't there?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, you're competing for attention too in that time frame. And if
Yeah.
you start competing too late, then you're going to get drowned out. And so this is the other side of it, which, I'm not a marketer per se, but I'm just around it a lot, which is can you be warming people up to your brand in the run
You're
up
right.
from October? Because, we've all heard that it takes 11 to maybe it's 20 touches now for someone to buy
It's
something
more.
from you.
It's more.
It's more. So, and if you are buying those touches in October, they're so much more expensive than if you start buying those touches in August and September. And so I am encouraging people to start thinking about those touches in the run up, even in August.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's really good wisdom for anybody listening, especially a person who's in an e-commerce or running an
Mhm.
e-commerce site on Shopify or any site. Frankly, I think you should really pay attention to what Matt is saying because he's so bang on the money. I can't even add to that. To be honest with you, I'm in that camp as a marketer. I'm in that camp. Guidance systems. So, what is a guidance system? Like, let's break it down first before we get into why
Sure.
we
What
didn't
is?
set up. Yeah.
Yeah. So a guidance system, the way that I'm using the word is you already know the direction you're going,
Yep.
and you're going to be moving that way at pretty fast speeds. And you need to make sure you stay in that direction. And so when I
Okay.
say guidance system, it is the system that keeps you going the right way, even at high speed.
Okay. And what does that compose of?
Yeah. So in relation to e-commerce brands and Black Friday, there's essentially, call it two components. Okay. One is I
Mhm.
mentioned this plan. So now till next spring. So you have a plan at a high level. You know what you want to be doing for revenue. You know typically what you're going to be doing for marketing. Again,
Mm.
dollars and you might have it planned at the monthly level. Now, and then you know your inventory purchases. And so you've done this now, and so you know what it takes. So what do I need to make in Black Friday to afford to buy inventory all the way through spring and not be in a cash crunch in February, right? Because February sucks for everybody, right? So how do
Oh,
you have a
me
less,
included.
yeah,
Yeah.
how do you have a less shitty February? You should know that already, right? Now, now you have that. You need to turn that into daily guidance systems for yourself and your marketing team. So here's the two ways. So this is the second way. There's the long-term plan and then there's the daily systems. And the daily system is two parts. First part is managing your conversion funnel. So you know, we all will be familiar with you put money in the Facebook machine, and if your CPMs cost a lot, you get less impressions and you get
Yep.
click-throughs and you get site sessions and you get add to carts and you get cart to checkout and you get checkout to completion. So I'm simplifying it, yes, but you have a conversion funnel. You need to take that long-term plan and break it into the conversion funnel metrics. Um, Not to the day, but you should know what it takes to achieve that revenue at the conversion funnel level in each month. So let's say in October, let's say you want, I don't know, a $2 million October. Well, you need to know how much you need to spend to get that, how many impressions that you should receive and what the CPM should be. You should have an idea of how many clicks you should get and what the CTR rate should be. You should have an idea of how many site sessions you're going to get and what the click-through effective click-through rate would be. You need to know ideally what the add to cart rate is going to be on a site session basis. You need to know cart checkout and completion.
Yep.
And the
Can I
reason you
stop?
want, yes,
Can I
please.
stop you right there for one sec? I'm sorry.
Of
So what you're saying, and I just want to paraphrase, is
course.
as a business, you better know what your numbers are. Because if you don't know what your numbers are, Matt can't help you. I can't help you. Another agency can't help you. You better get dialed in with your numbers real quick.
1000%. Yes.
Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, and numbers when you say numbers, Rob, most people who hear that go, "Oh, I should know what my numbers were." But no, you need to know
No.
what they're gonna be. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you never really know the one thing they're going to be, but what I encourage everybody to do, and what we do for our clients is you have three options, a good one and an average one and a bad one, and reality will be in between them somewhere. And so you should have good, average, bad, and in so doing, you have a really great idea of how the year could go. So you need to know your numbers in advance.
Yeah.
And then you need to know what it takes to achieve those numbers. And that's the conversion funnel. How many
Yep.
CPMs and all these different things,
Yep.
right? You
Yep.
can even
Yep.
break it down into how many creatives you have to launch. So then you have your funnel. Now, why does that help you? Well, you're going into October and sales are better than you thought they would be. But if that's all you know, it doesn't help you. If you know
No.
why sales are better than they should be, then
Then
you
you
get to
can.
double down. So if you know your click-through rate is really good, you can then go, well, I wonder, well, that probably is, I had a couple of creatives that worked out well. Now you know where to look. So find
Yep.
which creative worked, double down on that creative, launch more of that, or increase the spend on those campaigns that are having good click-through rates. If let's say the CPMs are lower than you thought they would be, well, now you know you get to throw more money into the Facebook machine. This doesn't usually happen that way, but it does. If your, let's say, revenue is not where it was supposed to be, and you're in the middle of November and you're day to day now, and all of a sudden your sales are down a day when they shouldn't be, and you go, well, let's look in my funnel and figure out what's going on. Oh, click-through rate dropped off, or my add to cart rate stopped, or something. Then you go, well, I know where that's going to be. Let's look in there,
Yep.
and you
Yep.
break it down into bite-sized pieces for your teams. This really helps as a CEO. You're probably going to be okay with keeping all this in your head. But when you break things down, it leads you to where the problem is rather than sitting around scratching your head, figuring out where the problem is. So that's the first piece is have your conversion funnel mapped, monitor it daily. Is there breakage? Is there opportunity? And if you do it that way, you're led towards where the problem or opportunity might be. So that's the first part.
Yep.
The second part of the guidance system is your daily profit tracker. Now, this Triple Whale has something that you can export to do this in a Google Sheet. We make one for people. I have a YouTube video about it actually, which shows you how to do it for free and where you get the data from and what tool to use. But this is a system where you, again, check your net sales daily and your cost of goods and your ad spend and your margin and your payment processing, and you even amortize your fixed costs for every day of a month. And you look at it every day, and did you make money that day or did you not? And are you on track to make the money that you thought you would this month or are you not? And two things you do with that. If you're making more money than you thought you were, great. You can decide as an owner to pocket the extra or to over invest in marketing, to be less efficient in marketing, to drive more results for the months after this. You get to choose. Maybe you don't have the information, you just don't know. If your profit is worse than it's supposed to be and your MER or your ad spend is less efficient than you thought it would be, then again, let's look at my conversion funnel, figure out what's going on. Maybe I need to dial back on my ad spend or fix a conversion issue or fix a click-through issue or whatever the issue may be. But if you do these two things and you monitor them daily, you will be able to find problems very quickly. Because the issue is not, is a problem going to happen because it is, or is an opportunity going to happen because they are? The problem is not seeing a problem or an opportunity fast enough to react almost in real time. And so this is what these tools give you. You begin to see, you're driving down the road, these are the lines in the road. You go over this one, okay, you come back on. You go over that one and you come back on. But if you can't see the lines or you have blinders on, you're going to go off the road. So this guidance system will keep you on the road.
Yep, I agree with it. And again, knowing where you're at helps you stay on the road. Not knowing where you're at is the marketer and the company's worst problem because
Yes,
as I always describe it, you're shooting at a dartboard blindfolded and you're never going to hit that center spot.
exactly. Yeah. Or maybe you would luck, but then you could never replicate it again. And we as owners want to figure out how to get closer and closer and closer, right?
Yeah, and we don't want to be doing business on lock because that might get you by
Oh,
1 year. That might get you by 2 years, but that's not going to do anything for growth. That's not going to be doing for anything for long-term longevity.
exactly.
That's not going to be doing any of that. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's part of it. I mean, I think a lot of business owners, as I say, and they just keep doing stuff because they've been in business for 20 years or 15 years. And then when you say, did you look at this? No. Did you look at that? No. So I'll give you an example. I've got a jewelry store client. He's one of my best friends too. So I always
Great.
talk about him. And he's got an independent store. He does really well. And one year I said to him, based on what I'm seeing in numbers going into Christmas, you need to start your Christmas stuff in September 1.
Hmm.
And he looked at me and said, you're crazy. I said, nope, you're trying to sell $10,000 rings. The more expensive to purchase, the more expensive time people need to get to that purchase, right?
Hmm.
You understand it.
Hmm.
Started September 1. And he's like, where I want to throw my ads on Facebook. And actually, in this case, I said, no, let's throw the ads on Google. Let's just
Hmm.
do an about face. And not only that, let's play with an upside down picture in the ad.
Okay.
So I threw out an upside down picture in the ad. He ran $20,000 in ads in September and October combined.
Hmm.
That turned into $120,000 overnight. Not even thinking about it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
but that was because I knew what his numbers were. I know what his profit margin is to a T. Like
Hmm.
that's the other thing. You better have a marketer that knows profit numbers. And I'm
100%.
sorry, if you're going to learn a sector, you better learn the business real quickly. And a lot of marketers don't. They think using generic doesn't work.
Hmm.
I happen to know in this case what his competitors do and who's in the area.
Yep.
I happen to know what's going on, and it goes from there.
Awesome. I love it.
Now, you mentioned ads, and you keep talking about the Facebook machine. Is that the only answer?
No, no. I would
I want
say, I
to
mean,
go
it
there.
is
I want to
an
go there.
it's a big answer. There's still the big boy in the room, right? But and the other, one of the things I'm seeing and I'm hearing about is Google search is
Yep.
falling a bit away. And so, obviously you have
AI.
to figure out yeah, how do you get into the LLMs? And I don't know that I have an answer except for that everybody should be looking at it. We're looking at it actively. We're monitoring
Yeah.
where
Me
we
too.
rank. We are writing blogs that LLM should pick up. We're working on Reddit. We're doing stuff to rank. Okay.
Yep. So my
Um, go ahead.
so my point is, should we be looking at things like unconventional, like ads on Reddit? Reddit has a following.
Sure.
Or should we be looking at, and I'll throw another curveball, depending on the retail industry you're in, and you know which ones they are because you've been at this a long time.
Hmm.
There are some industries, anything to do with the adult industry, even if it's legal. I can tell you, I play in that space a little bit, so I
Hmm.
know anything in the cannabis industry, even though it's legal in this country. There are certain ad platforms that will
Right.
not touch those two if their life depended on it. They just say,
Yes.
nope, we're done. And you got to look for alternatives. So I don't think they're always the answer. It all depends on where your target market and your customers hanging out and what they're doing too.
Yeah, and again, I always go back to that conversion funnel and I say,
Yep.
if let's say your funnel's working, well, your question is I mean, you don't just sit back and let it work. No, you go, how do I get more efficient inputs or for better outputs? Or you know what I mean? And so
Yep.
that might be TikTok Shop for some people. That might be
Yep.
more impressions for less
Yep.
CPM on TikTok Shop. It might
Yep.
be looking at Reddit. It might be influencers. But I think you always have to be quote unquote hacking your conversion funnel because
Yep.
if you sit still, you're just not going to do well. Um,
Yep.
and I like to say for me, there's a few arbitrage opportunities left in D2C. There's not that many. One of them I say is top of funnel marketing. And the reason it's
Yes.
arbitrage is because nobody else will do it. Your friend with
Yeah.
the jewelry store, they paid 20,000 in October or September, you said, to get the money later on. That is in essence top of funnel because they're not looking for a
Yes.
conversion today.
Yep.
And people who are willing to do that and stick with it will win. The other one is really figuring out psychology-based advertising, and then paired that
Bingo.
with creative
Boom.
volume is the other one. But if you can figure out how to speak to people where they are, and you're willing to like take off the reins on creative volume and just creative like
Yep.
variety, you will eventually hit on something that works.
Yep.
And then
Is
maybe
part of
TikTok shop. Yeah.
Yeah, is part of that because people are saying, as a traditional, especially in retail or e-commerce, they're saying, this is what we expect our customer to do, instead of going to the customer and saying, what do you want us to do? And I think that's
Yeah.
really key.
Hmm.
Too many people in this game do what they want instead of what their customer wants. And if they
Hmm.
did what their customer wants, the customer would probably buy more.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think though that what I'm seeing now is those that are even customer centric, if
Yep.
let's say they get the right five pain points, let's just say, and you make five ads, well, you might be speaking the right words or the right message, but if it's not in a format that
Mhm.
grabs your ICP, your ideal customer, it still is not going to go anywhere. And that's where you need to have like the five pain points, but like times five different variations each
Yeah.
minimum, like minimum. Like
Yep.
people that are scaling right now, I met a guy who went from 0 to 15 million in 2 years. He had 700 ads in his library live, right?
Yep.
You need to have a lot because you just don't know what's going to work. But Facebook will figure it out if you give it enough data and money, of course. So
Of
volume, you
course.
have to do volume, but you also have to speak the language of your customer, like you say.
Yeah, we need to get these smaller shops off this, the old scam, not scams, but the misinformation. Oh, you can make money at throwing ads $5 a day. There's no way, no how, nowhere. Facebook needs at least $500 to $1,000 in the first
Oh,
month
yeah.
minimum. And I'm
Yep.
not talking what you should spend, minimum, to
Hmm.
figure out where to target your ads.
I would agree with that. Yep.
So
Like
if you
we,
can't spend the money to even figure out your target, you probably shouldn't even be spending the money at all. Do something else with it.
well, this is a good point you make. And each new campaign, I think, needs 50 trackable events to even be out of the
Yes.
learning phase. But
Yep.
for someone like me, for example, my CPM for clients that we want to work with is probably 80, 90. No, it's about $80 a lead. And so we probably need to spend $500 on a campaign to get it out
Mine's
of
up there.
learning. right?
Yep. Yep.
And imagine if you're D2C and you have five pain points and five avatars. Well, that five times five, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mhm.
you can't do D2C without spending thousands of dollars,
Yep.
sorry, in ads. Um,
Yeah, and then the other thing to look at, and I'm going to go here because we're spending a lot of time talking about ads, but
sure.
even before we get to the ads, folks, your website better be set up for conversions
Oh,
before you even run an ad. So
yeah.
nine, I just looked at a site the other day, was a retail Shopify site, and the client was, I'm not getting any conversions. I'm running all
Mm,
these ads, and his ad campaigns were really good. You know where the problem is? The layout of his websites. They're not optimized for conversions. So
brutal.
how do you expect to make money if even if the ads are good, if your site isn't set up to convert? I
Well,
don't
I
understand.
agree. I agree completely. I I still see people running a lot of ads to like a product page or like their
Yep.
product collections. And like, you drop someone who saw a black dress onto a red dress and they go, well, that's not what I was looking for. So then they leave your site or whatever, you know what I
Yep.
mean?
Do
Yeah.
not run ads to a page that gives the customer five selections. If you're going to run an ad, you want the customer to do one thing, buy what's in the ad. That's
Yep.
what you want. So
Yep.
run the ad. If it's that little black dress that every woman should have in her closet, run the ad right to the little black dress page. And I'm going to go one more for you. If you're going to run the ad that page, strip off the header, strip off the footer. Don't give the customer any options to do anything else that says click that button that
Yeah.
says I want it now. Right?
I am so aligned with that, and I'll tell you why. I work with a client that went from 0 to 60 million in about three
Yep.
years, and they got leapfrogged to 200 million by another competitor. And one of the reasons I think was, well, the competitor had less fixed costs, but also when you went to the competitor's website, you opened it from anywhere you got it. They had one product, and you could pick, I want this many, and that's all you could do. That's all that was on the website.
Yep.
And they didn't show you anything else until you got to the cart. And they said, by the way, you could add this and this. And so it was hyper focused website. And they grew to 200 million. Uh, yeah, leapfrogged us.
And I'm gonna take this one more step because as you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about
I
this stuff,
hear it. I love
conversions.
it.
And thanks, Matt. And by the way, don't waste your thank you page. Too many
Mhm.
people write their thank you page on Shopify or on Woo and say thank you for your purchase. Do that. You might as well say nothing. If you're going to do that, say, by the way, while you're here, here's five other things you can buy. Here's something else you can do. Here's a long
Mhm.
term thing you can do. Or at least, here's where you can get on my newsletter so we can send you products that you might enjoy down the road. Use that space properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop wasting your time and, frankly, the customer's time.
Love it. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if somebody was going to create a system for Black Friday, what's the three big takeaways that you would kind of throw out at them right away that they should do now?
Got it. Make a plan from now, which is end of
Yep.
July, we're speaking now until minimum March 31st. So
Yep.
revenue, cost of goods, advertising, profit. Know what that looks like, and then sort of look at what the profit is and does it support enough money to buy the inventory you need to buy, right? So that's the first thing. Then map your conversion funnel against that revenue projection. How many ads you need to buy, how much you need to spend, what's the click-through rate supposed to be, and look at your averages, it'll tell you. The
Yep.
next thing is then turn that into your daily profit for October, November, maybe even September, December, and then put those things in place. And actually, you can use my YouTube to help build a couple of these things, but then ask your marketing team to build it themselves so that they know how it works, so they know where to look. Don't just build it for them and hand it to them. Ask them to build it and sit with them if you need to, but ask them to build it. And if you do that, like I say, problems and opportunities are guaranteed to happen. You just have to spot them faster than other people. And this is what allows you to do. And then you can maximize or minimize gain, loss.
Yep. So true. Um, what type of companies do you work with? Is it, do you have a volume set or is it kind of all over the map, like
Yeah, I
typical?
mean, it's pretty good over. We work with e-com and CPG businesses mostly, some
Yep.
SaaS, of course. Industry agnostic, so we've worked with beauty, health, wellness, apparel, grocery, fast moving goods, cleaning, all kind of stuff. So we're good at all those things. And in terms of revenue, I'd say, we do well when you're over sort of 5 million.
Mm.
And we work all the way up to 100 million. But typically within that range. Yeah,
Yeah, and some pretty competitive spaces. Beauty's competitive big time. Health has challenges of running ads because you can't make guarantees in the ads. There's all
that's
kinds of challenges and all this stuff, right? They all have their unique
there really
little.
is. But I would say, one of our beauty clients is about to exit for 9 figures, and one of our wellness clients got a massive deal with a massive company. Actually, no, it's public. So the Turmeric Co. got a quite a good deal with AG Bar in the UK, and it's public information. And we walked with them for 4 years up until that point.
Yep, that's really good. If somebody wants to talk about getting your agency to do work for them or talk about where to go, how's the best way to get in touch with you, Matt?
Yeah, two ways. I would say our website is a great one, eightx.co. Check there. You can email me directly, matt@8x.co, or LinkedIn. It's good. My name is Matt Putra. I'm on LinkedIn. Either of those three will be, my team will reach out to you very quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much for this great conversation. I think people get a lot of value about it. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Rob. This was so fun.
Thanks. Bye. This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. Very special thank you to Matt for joining us on this edition of the SKM Show. The SKM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.